Could Alex Eala mount a tilt at the US Open title this year?
There is a ticket in New York this week that costs more than it should. It is not a ticket to a final, a championship point, a night session under the lights, or a match that decides who advances to the second week of a Grand Slam. It is a ticket to an exhibition. No ranking points, no prize money, no trophy. Two players walking onto Arthur Ashe Stadium on a Thursday evening to hit tennis balls at each other for the pleasure of 23,771 strangers. Every one of those seats is gone. Alex Eala is one of the two players on the ticket. She has never won a Grand Slam match on Louis Armstrong Stadium. She has never, in fact, played a competitive point there in her life. 5 days from now, she will walk out onto Louis Armstrong Stadium in the first round of the United States Open, and by the time she does, the story around her will already have sold out an entirely different building. So here is the question worth answering. Why is New York already treating Alex Eala like someone she has not officially become yet? That question matters more than the obvious one. The obvious question is whether she wins her first-round match on Louis Armstrong Stadium. I do not know the answer. As of this writing, the match has not been played, and I will not pretend otherwise. If you came looking for a prediction dressed up as insight, this is not that piece. There is a bigger question sitting underneath the match, and that bigger question is already decided. The court assignment exists. The exhibition is sold out. The market has already spoken. What the market has said about Alex Eala over the last 12 months is a story that explains something about modern tennis the ranking table does not. The rooms she walks into have changed, not because a ranking algorithm demanded it, but because the seats did. Alex Eala is 21 years old, born in the Philippines. As of early August, she is ranked number 20 in the world, a career high, and the first player from her country ever to sit inside the WTA top 20. She won her first WTA singles title this summer in Washington at the Mubadala City Open, a WTA 500 event, beating a serious field that included Jessica Pegula in the final 4-6, 6-4, 6-0. The scoreline collapsed like a stack of chairs. 12 months earlier at the United States Open, she walked onto a stadium court in Flushing Meadows and beat Clara Towson in 3 sets, 6-3, 2-6, 7-6, saving multiple match points in a tiebreak that stretched to 13-11. That match is the reason many people are paying attention now. And that stadium, the one from last August, is where this story actually begins, because it was not the stadium memory has installed. Here is the first thing that does not add up. The Towson upset, the match that put Eala's name into every highlight reel, the match Filipino families stayed awake until 3 in the morning to watch, the match described in 100 articles as her arrival on the biggest stage was played on Grandstand. Not Louis Armstrong, not Arthur Ashe. Grandstand. It is a beautiful court that seats around 8,000. It is not small, but it is not the room the memory has retrofitted. The Women's Tennis Association's own scorecard lists Grandstand. The US Open's own recap names the Grandstand crowd. The biggest moment in Philippine tennis history was played on the third court of the tournament. 1 year later, she is scheduled to open the event on the second. The memory has been quietly upgraded by the audience, and the tournament is now catching up. Here is the second thing that does not add up. There are 19 players ranked above Eala on the WTA Tour. Some of them are among the biggest names in the sport. Not one of those 19 has an exhibition match sold out at Arthur Ashe Stadium this week. The Fan Week exhibition on August 27th features Eala against Iva Jovic. Close friends off the court, both ranked inside the top 20, no stakes, no points, no ladder movement. All 23,771 seats are gone in a market where US Open ticket prices have been running roughly a fifth higher than the year before. An exhibition featuring the world number 20 has moved a full-night session at the biggest tennis-only stadium on the planet. What is the market seeing that the ranking table is not? Here is the third thing. The Louis Armstrong first-round assignment is, on paper, unremarkable. A player projected to be seeded somewhere in the 17-20 range at a Grand Slam is a perfectly reasonable candidate for Armstrong in the opening round. It is not a favor or a promotion pulled out of turn. Any competent scheduler looking at her seeding, her recent title, and her draw would arrive at Armstrong through pure arithmetic. And yet the reaction from the Filipino diaspora in New York, from ticket brokers watching the secondary market, from tennis media in the Philippines and beyond, has treated it like a coronation. An ordinary court assignment is being read as an extraordinary event. Why does an ordinary sentence sound like a headline when this particular name is the subject? Here is the fourth thing, the one that makes the picture strange. She lost her most recent tournament match 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati in the round of 32, falling to Amanda Anisimova in 3 sets after taking the first. It was not a bad loss. Anisimova is one of the best hardcourt players in the world, but it was a loss. In the 12 days since, ticket demand for Eala's matches at the US Open did not soften. It hardened. Fan bases usually punish losses, at least at the margins. This one did not flinch. What kind of audience does that? All 4 of these things are true and documented. Under the obvious explanation she is ranked 20 in the world, she earned the court, end of story, none of them quite fit. Not because the obvious explanation is wrong, but because it is incomplete. It explains what happened. It does not explain what is happening. Most people assume reasonably that a court assignment at a Grand Slam is a reflection of ranking. The tournament looks at the seeding list, matches it to stadium demand, and places players accordingly. Ranking in, court out. It is a clean model. It is how most people who watch tennis understand the sport's plumbing. And it is not wrong. It is just not the whole thing. The actual reframe, the one that makes the 4 paradoxes stop being paradoxes, is this. The ranking is the excuse. The court is a receipt. Louis Armstrong Stadium was not given to Alex Eala because she is number 20 in the world. It was given to her because the market said so first, and the ranking merely gave the tournament permission to agree. The United States Open is a business, a very good one. It sells the stadiums it can fill. When a player's name starts moving tickets independently of the match, when an exhibition sells out, when secondary market seats for her session spike, when Filipino fans book flights to New York the way English fans book flights for a World Cup, the tournament reads that data long before it prints the schedule. The court is not a prize. It is a printout. And what is printed on it is a summary of the last 12 months of ticket sales. That is the spine. Once you see it, the 4 things that did not add up stop being confusions and start being confirmations. This is not a story about a player who is overrated or being handed things she has not earned. She has earned all of it on the court with a racket in 3 sets under stadium lights. It is a story about the difference between what earns a ranking and what earns a room. Those are 2 different economies, and Alex Eala has crossed from one into the other faster than almost anyone in women's tennis in the last decade. Proof is straightforward. On August 27th at 6 p.m. Eastern, Eala will play Iva Jovic in an exhibition at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Every seat, 23,771 of them, more than any other tennis-only venue in the world, has been sold. The match carries no ranking points. It will not appear on either player's official win-loss record. If both of them produce the finest tennis of the year for 2 full sets, it would still move neither ranking by a single point. The people who bought those tickets know that. They bought them anyway. Demand for Alex Eala on a tennis court is now completely detached from the competitive stakes of the tennis being played. People are not paying to see the match. They are paying to see the player. When 23,000 people spend money on a no-stakes appearance by a number 20, the market has stopped pricing the sport and started pricing the person. That is a shift the ranking table cannot register. Quieter evidence lands harder if you know the industry. Before the US Open released its first round schedule, an insider quoted by Tennis 365 said that Louis Armstrong could become Eala's home court at this tournament if she got the draw for it. Not that she deserved it because of ranking or results, but that Armstrong could become hers, claimed, made to feel that way by the crowd. The industry was talking about her stadium fit before the tournament had assigned her a stadium. A home court in tennis is not something a tournament creates by decree. It is something an audience creates by showing up. When a veteran anticipates that a specific stadium will become a specific player's home court before the schedule is even printed, that person is not predicting. They are reading a market, the same market that sold out Arthur Ashe on a Thursday in Fan Week. The pattern is not new. What is new is who it is happening to. 12 months ago, Eala played on Grandstand and Filipino fans filled it. 6 months ago at Indian Wells, Miami, and Madrid, they filled whatever room she was assigned. By the time this US Open began scheduling, the tournament was not creating demand by putting her on Louis Armstrong. It was acknowledging demand that already existed. There are 2 ways a player ends up on a stadium court at a Grand Slam. The first is that the tournament decides she belongs there, puts her there, and hopes the fans will follow. The second is that the fans have already decided she belongs there, and the tournament is quietly following them. These look identical from the outside. They are not the same thing. Eala this week is the second one. 12 months ago, she walked onto Grandstand as a wildcard/qualifier storyline, ranked in the 70s, playing a top 15 seed, and produced the largest tennis moment in the history of her country. 12 months later, she walks onto Louis Armstrong as a top 20 seed, and her exhibition has already sold out the biggest tennis stadium in the world. Most coverage will tell you that her ranking rose and her court rose with it, that the story is about ranking points, a WTA 500 title in Washington, and arithmetic. That is true, but it is not sufficient. A ranking of number 20 does not automatically put a player on Louis Armstrong in the first round at every Grand Slam. Number 20 sits at the low end of that court's usual population. There are number 20s who open on court 17 or Grandstand, and it makes no news at all. The reason Eala is on Louis Armstrong this week is that the tournament looked at the sold-out exhibition, looked at the secondary market data, looked at the Filipino travel volume into New York, and understood that putting her on a smaller court would leave money on the table and fans in the corridors. The court is not a promotion. It is not a coronation. It is a receipt, the piece of paper the United States Open printed to acknowledge a transaction that had already happened everywhere else. The walk from Grandstand to Armstrong is not a step up the ladder. It is a signature at the bottom of a contract the audience wrote 12 months ago and has been signing every week since. This reframe does not tell you that Eala is going to win her first-round match. That match has not been played. She could win it in 3 sets and turn the stadium into the loudest room in New York. She could lose it in a routine straight sets defeat to an opponent playing the tennis of their life. Nobody knows. The reframe is about what the court means, not about what happens on it. It also does not prove that she is now, in some objective ranking independent sense, a bigger draw than every player ranked above her. The sold-out exhibition proves only that in this tournament, in this week, in this city, in this moment, she is moving tickets in a way many higher-ranked players are not. That is enough for the reframe. It is not enough for a coronation. The vulnerability has to be named honestly. 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati, she led the first set against Amanda Anisimova and lost the match in 3. It is a loss to a top-tier hard-court player, not damning, but a loss. The layer of players who win Grand Slams is a layer she has broken through once, memorably, against Iga Swiatek in Miami. She has not yet broken through it as a habit. So the story of Alex Eala at this United States Open is not the story of a finished player. It is the story of a player whose audience has arrived before her results have fully caught up. Those two things resolve into each other eventually, or they do not. We do not yet know which. We do know one thing. The court she is playing on this week is not the court she played on last time. That small piece of arithmetic printed on a schedule is the single clearest signal in professional tennis right now that the audience for Alex Eala has become large enough, loud enough, and loyal enough to be visible from inside the ledger of a Grand Slam. 12 months ago, she was on Grandstand, and the tournament had no reason to expect what happened. This week, she is on Louis Armstrong, and the tournament has every reason. That is the distance she has traveled, not in ranking points, in receipts. She lost in Cincinnati, and the demand did not soften. She has not yet won a match on Louis Armstrong Stadium, and the exhibition in the bigger building next door is already gone. The 19 players above her in the rankings are not selling out Fan Week exhibitions in Arthur Ashe. She is. When you ask why New York is treating Alex Eala like someone she has not officially become yet, the answer, quietly, undramatically, is that New York gets to decide who someone is, and New York has already decided. The paperwork will catch up or it will not. Either way, the court is a receipt. Her name is on it. It is stamped Louis Armstrong Stadium, first round, this week, in ink. Look at the room she is in now. Look at who else is in it. The player she faces in the exhibition is a top 20 American teenager on her home slam. The stadium is Arthur Ashe. The tournament is the last major of the year. The seat next to yours, if you had one, was already sold months before you thought to look. That is the company she keeps. That is the room. If the first-round match on Louis Armstrong ends the way her fans want it to, the conversation continues in a few days. If it does not, the conversation continues anyway, because the ticket demand for her next appearance will not have moved and the story will only get bigger.